Welcome to week 9 of your year of tarot. Today we are unpicking the 1 to 10 pip cards of our fire suit, the Suit of Wands. So get comfy, get cozy, grab your deck, and let's learn some tarot. Today we're looking at the Suit of Wands. This is our classic fire suit, so each suit has an element. Wands, fire. Fire represents energy, action, drive, willpower, creative inspiration. We're going to use the element of fire plus the numerology that we learned in our numerology lesson and what we know so far to deduce the meaning of the card. We'll be using the same method we have been for the last 2 lessons. Look at the main elements, have a discussion around the nuance, what questions arise, and use that to find our meaning. So let's dive straight in. We're starting, as we always do, with our Ace card, our Ace of Wands. This is the number 1, which represents unity, beginnings, and potential. The Ace card in each suit is also the main indicator of the element and represents the element in its purest form, so fire, namely creative inspiration and ambition. So what are the main elements in this card? So we've got a hand holding a wand upright, again in a presentation style fashion, a bit like with the swords. There's a horizon which has some mountains, but also a valley, a stream. It looks very peaceful. There is a castle representing a town on the horizon. The wand itself has green leaves growing out of it, and there's a light emanating from the wand. So what does this mean? What's the nuance in this card? The white light coming from the hand is representing of pure energy. It's pure potential. It's ambition and its drive. The castle on the horizon and the valley before it all represent a journey to get to a destination. The wand in this, as with the wands throughout the suit, aren't just simple and static sticks. They all have green leaves growing out of them, which symbolize that they are alive, that they are in action, they are moving. Is the energy flowing through the wands? So what questions arise from this? Well, like the other aces, not much, apart from who has the energy of this wand? Is this your hand taking the wand? Is this someone presenting the wand to you? And what is on the horizon? This is the idea of creative inspiration, and there's a through line in tarot that that inspiration doesn't necessarily come from you, it comes from something else and you are a channel for it. That is the idea in this wand. When this hand coming out of the clouds is presenting you with the wand, it's presenting you with inspiration for a new idea. So this is the beginning of a new journey, a new creative project possibly, but the ambition and drive, not just the thought behind something, the need for action and the need for movement. When we reverse this card, all of a sudden the leaves seem to fall a lot quicker. This is quite the opposite to the upright meaning. This is a creative block, or this is the loss of ambition. So upright, we've got that ambition and we've got those creative ideas, but when it's reversed, it's that we don't have the drive behind those ideas. We don't have the ambition pushing us forward like we need it to be. Something is there blocking you. Let's move on to the Two of Wands. You'll remember that 2s represent balance, duality, cooperation, and decision making. What are the main elements in this card? We have a figure at the front in very fine clothes. He is facing away from us. There are 2 wands. The figure is holding what appears to be a globe. There's a valley and water in the distance, and there are flowers carved into the main part of the building. So there's actually quite a lot happening here. My immediate instinct when I look at this card is that this figure is looking off into the distance, possibly at this. I've always pictured this figure as being the person inside the castle that we see in the Ace, and he is now looking out at the creative inspiration. So let's dive a bit deeper into the nuance of this card. When we look at the wands, we can see that one is actually attached to the building and then one is in his hand. This is the choice that he's making between staying where he is and the new adventure. And as he is holding onto the wand, he's reaching for the new adventure. When he's looking at a globe rather than a map, he's looking at possibility. He's looking at adventure, but with no real destination or goal in mind. Just the drive to make change and the ambition to make change, but not necessarily with an actual goal in mind. The flowers that are carved into the building are red roses and white lilies. Both have different symbolic meanings, but red roses generally are passion or love and desire, and white lilies are peace or mourning. So it can be that he has a passion and desire and drive for a new thing, but that means leaving peace. And if he chooses to go, it also means mourning what he had. So all of these little elements combine to give us the meaning of the card. Or what questions come up? Immediately, will he stay or will he go? What does he look to? Where is he looking? Where is he now? And does he actually want to go? Upright, this card is exploration. This is the start of a new idea. This is the start of a new journey. There is something on the horizon. There's something greater, there's something more, but there's no real destination attached to it. It's more a question of what are you going to start rather than what's the specific journey that you're going on. This is what comes straight after a creative idea has come to you. This is the first few bits of action. Maybe we don't have the entire thing planned out, but we know that we need to do something more. Reversed, this card is the fear of the unknown. There are so many options. He's looking at a globe, he's looking at the whole world, so many things he could do, so many places he could go. Where do you start? Perhaps the safety and comfort of home is more appealing than the unknowns of the wilds. Let's move on to the Three of Wands. Well, remember, 3 is development, expression, growth, and group dynamics. The 3 poses a striking yet lonely figure. So let's look at the main elements of this card. We've got 3 wands. One is being held, 2 are behind the figure. The figure is in fine robes. He looks over a desert or a valley, but far on the other side there are green and rolling hills again. Let's dig deep, let's unpick the nuance of this card. The 2 wands behind the figure represent a doorway, and he has stepped through it. He has already made the decision that the 2 of wands was contemplating. He has stepped through that door, he has started on his journey, on his adventure, and he is holding a wand, so he is still holding on to his ambition and his action. The desert in front of him suggests that there is struggle on the horizon, that there will be a journey of discomfort, that there will be a journey of things feeling incredibly intense, but there is mountains and lush greenery on the horizon, which shows that there is something out there. But in the meantime, you need to put one foot in front of the other and get over the struggle, get through this part of the desert. He's holding on to this wand almost like a feeling of apprehension, of steadying himself, and his fine robes indicate wealth and status. And when we're looking at the Fire of Wands, it's a wealth of ideas, a wealth of ambition, and feeling comfortable within that before setting on the journey. So what questions arise? Well, what is he going to do? How is he going to get there? Was this what he expected when he stepped through that doorway? Was he expecting this vast sandy desert, or has this come as a shock to him? Upright, this is a card of momentum. This is a card of putting one foot in front of the other, even when it's feeling difficult. This is a card of continuously moving through obstacles because you have a destination. It may not be clear to you, it still may be a rough horizon with mountains, but there is a place that you're going, and it requires your steady commitment. It requires you to be your own momentum because you're not going to get it from someone else. It asks you to put one foot in front of the other and keep going even when it feels hard. Reversed, this is a card of obstacles. This is that desert on the horizon is feeling too hard to walk through. This is a feeling of loss and of apprehension, of this not being what you expected. This is struggles in your way, and it asks you, is this the time to carry on or to turn back? Let's look at the Four of Wands. So the 4 represents structure, stability, endurance, and long-term patterns. What are the main elements in this card? Well, immediately I get that this is a feeling of quite a joyful card. There are 4 wands that are tied together with decorative greenery across the top. There are roses. There's a couple holding bouquets in the air by the looks of it. There's a town in the background. There's lots of people around. Gives the feeling of a party, of a celebration. Well, what are the nuances of this card? So the green in the foliage represents the idea of evergreen, of something that is continuously lasting. The roses represent passion and drive. The party is happening in the background, but we also have the number 4 of stability, which represents celebrations with people that you care about, with your family, with your friends, but people that mean a lot to you. It can indicate sometimes weddings and births, wonderful things that are happening with the people that you love and care about. The archway that is created with these 4 wands tied together is a transition. The archway is a threshold between life stages, between journeys. Remember that the 4 is on the horizon of the 5, and the 5, you'll know from previous lessons, is our bit of a plot twist. So we're on the horizon of that, and stepping through that archway leads us to the change that comes from the 5. It can be a transition between life stages, between life states, between projects, between ideas. But there's still a lightheartedness and a joy to this. There's not apprehension before taking this transition. There's joy in it and there's celebration in it. So what questions come from this card? Well, immediately, what are they celebrating? Who are these people? Are these a couple getting married? Because that's kind of what it looks like. Are they joining in some kind of union? Who are the people in the background partying with them? What do these people mean to the 2 figures out in front? And where are they celebrating? Are they within their home, or are they celebrating because they've reached somewhere new? Upright, this card is simply a celebration. Having gratitude for the things that you've already done, being on the precipice of something new and recognizing everywhere that you have come from. It's having the love of your community and your family around you in whatever way that means to you. There's celebration and there's joy here. This is a time where you can freely look at everything you've accomplished so far and use it as a drive to push you forward, using your joy and celebration to mark important points on your journey to fuel that ambition and drive, everything that the wands represent. Because the wands and the fire can be a very joyful and very light-hearted energy, but it also can be fiery and destructive. So it's managing those energies and managing that level. When we reverse this card, it becomes apparent that those 2 figures in the middle are standing alone. This represents a feeling of not belonging. It feels like people aren't behind them, aren't around them. There is a celebration happening, and why are you standing out from it? What is your relationship to the belonging of the people around you? Do you feel stable in this? Why is there almost a feeling of sorrow? Are you about to transition life stages? Go from something you've known to something you don't? Maybe there's a bit of feeling of loss and of apprehension in there, but it's a dampening of that drive and a dampening of the joy. Let's move on to our 5. We mentioned this briefly in the 4, but we are looking at conflict, change, challenge, fluctuation. It is our plot twist card. It is in the middle of our pip suit. What are the main elements in this card? So we've got 5 figures. Each are holding a wand. It looks like they are fighting with each other. They're all dressed incredibly differently, but the clothing is not torn. We can pick out these figures quite clearly. So what's happening here? What's the nuance in this card? All of these people are dressed very differently. They come from different places, have different minds, have different ideas, and each holding a wand. And as we know, if wands are creative ideas and ambition, all of these people have different ambitions, have different ideas and creative goals, and they are all fighting with one another. This is a very packed scene. It's people jostling to get their voice heard. It's people fighting to get their ideas across. This can be an internal conflict. Maybe these all people are within you. These are different ideas that you have, ways of approaching a situation, different things that you want to do, and they're all jostling for space because none of them have that space to breathe or be heard. This can also be an external situation, so other people within your circle all jostling for an idea, a foothold, somewhere to talk and have their voice come across. So questions. Well, why are they fighting? Who are they to each other? What is their relationships with each other? And what do they each actually have to say? Upright, this card is a conflict, either inner or outer, a conflict of different ideas, of different ambitions, different drives and status, all vying for control, all trying to get their voice across, to get their point heard, to feel like they are being heard in a situation when they're not. It's feeling mushy. It gives me the phrase of too many hands in the pie. You know, too many cooks in the kitchen. When we reverse it, immediately I get the sense that the clothing isn't as separate, because our eye seems to be drawn to the blank space with the wands rather than the middle. And this almost feels like avoidance. It feels like we want to avoid this group rather than try and settle the conflict, rather than try and work with it and figure out what each individual needs. It's loud and it's confusing, and there are people and limbs and wands and they're twisting everywhere and we don't want to go near it. So we're avoiding the situation completely. That can be to our detriment, because it means that we're not taking part in the conversation that's happening. We're not taking part in the conflict, so we can't get our point across. But if this is an internal conflict, it's also showing that we're avoiding taking any form of action and kind of hoping that the situation resolves itself, which realistically it's not going to do. I'm going to show you the 5 of Wands from a different deck. This is the Spirit Song Tarot. Right back at the beginning, in Anatomy of a Tarot Deck, when I talked about what makes a good deck, we talked about clear symbology, and that's why everyone, I believe, should start with a Rider-Waite-Smith or Rider-Waite-Smith adjacent deck, so that you can start understanding symbology. The Spirit Song Tarot does something very different, where each card has a different animal on it, using the idea of spirit guides from animals, but it also changes all the suits. So I mentioned in that video as well that different decks will change the association with each suit. With this, the wands are now acorns. And with the 5 of acorns from this, we have got a leopard. You can see a lot of energy in this card. There's a lot of movement happening. There's a lot of shapes kind of fighting for their own place in this card. There's lots of colours fighting for their own place in this card. And you've got that roaring leopard at the front. It says underneath challenge and growth, which is very similar to the main meaning of the card. You can get the same kind of energy. You can get that there is a lot of movement, a lot of things happening, a lot of things vying for their own viewpoint. And in this, we've got a lot of shapes and a lot of colours, all of which are trying to intermingle, but you do get the odd bit of one colour popping in one section and popping in another section. So we still get the energy of the fire through this card, and we get the conflict and the drive in the roaring leopard. So you can see by breaking down the cards, there are similarities, but the Spirit Song one feels more creative in its conflict and in its challenge, whereas this one feels more interpersonal. Let's move on to our 6 of Wands. You'll remember 6 is harmony, commitment, alignment, and community. Well, what's going on in this card? Let's look at the main elements. You have a figure on horseback. They are in a leafy crown, possibly a bay crown. They hold a wand in their hand, and there are 5 more wands in the background being held by other figures who are walking alongside them. The figure is riding a horse who is in a cloak, and there is a wreath on the wand that they are holding. So what's happening here? Let's look at the nuance of this card. This card gives the feeling of victory, of returning home after a battle has been raged, after a conflict has been overcome. The green crown, if it is laurel, which I kind of read it as, is peace and harmony, and the green is that evergreen nature, so longevity of the victory. The wreath on the wand is unity, and this links to the wreath that they are wearing as a crown. The unity of thought, idea, and action. So the wand as action, we've got the crown as idea, representing the air element. So it is putting action behind those plans and behind those thoughts. The wands are all being held aloft by people that are walking alongside this figure. So these are their brothers in arms. These are the people that went through the battle with them, celebrating their joy with them. We've got the horse, and in tarot, horse is directed movement. Because you are controlling the reins, you are steering. Horses are loyalty, movement and strength, but it is directed energy. It's not chaotic, thrown everywhere energy. It is intentional. As the crowd marches alongside, it gives this feeling of solidarity to the cause, solidarity with this person. So questions immediately, well, what was the battle that they fought, that they overcome to get here? How is it that they won? Because their clothes aren't overly torn, they don't look bloodied as we see in a lot of other cards. How did they overcome this without themselves getting hurt or breaking down? What is it that they lost? As we've seen as a theme throughout the tarot, there's two sides to everything and there's two hands in everything. A lot of the times when we have cards that indicate some kind of victory, there's also elements of loss in there as well. So what did they lose? Upright, this is triumph. This is a battle hard fought and hard won. So we can see immediately the battle from the Five of Wands. We've now moved through that. We've got to the Six of Wands. We've overcome this conflict. And how did we do that? How did we do it without losing ourselves and breaking ourselves? If the Five of Wands teaches us that this is a conflict internally or externally between so many different viewpoints, how did we get them to become harmonious? How did we find peace between our thoughts and our ideas? The Six upright tells us that we can actually sit back in this achievement and we can have a moment of peace and gratitude and knowing that we have aligned ourselves with our goals and taken actions to get things done. When we reverse this card, we can still see that we've come through something, but the feeling changes. We notice that none of the figures are actually looking towards us. They're looking away. None of the figures are looking up at the person who is on horseback. It gives me always the feeling of a low self-esteem. Did they deserve this win, or did they come out of a fight beaten and broken internally? So we see that the figure themselves aren't hurt, but internally there are wounds there from the conflict they've overcome and from the fight that they've had that have shaped them. These conflicts, these wounds changed who they are as a person and have affected their self-esteem, and that's something they need to rectify to be able to move forward. Let's move on to the Seven of Wands. The Seven represents introspection, investigation and reflection. So what are the main elements of this card? What can we see happening? You've got one figure, they're standing alone, they're holding a wand in a very defensive position. They're holding it against themselves. We can see 6 other wands that are poking out of the ground, possibly being held by other people. We don't know, we can't see them. And this figure looks almost as if they're trying to push them away. What are the nuances of this card? What's actually happening? Well, the figure who is holding the main wand, he's looking defensive. He's holding it across his body. However, it also looks like he's driving the stick into the ground. We can't see where the rest of those wands are. We don't know if those are just wands in the ground. We don't know if someone else is holding them. We don't know if someone is attacking him. Is he defending himself? Let's go straight into some questions. Well, what is he doing? Is the biggest one. But there are so many sub-questions in that. Is he building? Is he dismantling? Is he sparring? Is he fighting? Is he defending? Is he attacking? What is he doing? And what is on the other end of those wands that we can't see? Upright, this is the card of taking a stand. This is someone who knows their beliefs, knows their thoughts, knows their mind, and they are willing to defend it from others. We can see from the right bottom corner of this card down here that he's on some kind of higher ground. And we know, and because we can't see the end of these wands, that gives the indication that they are much higher up as well. The one he is holding on to is his ambition, it's his drive, and he is holding on to that and willing to defend it from others. When we reverse this card, it more becomes that feeling of being attacked. Remember, we cannot see what's happening at the other end of these wands. They could be being held aloft by someone, but we don't know that. We can't see. We don't know who's holding on to the other ends of these. And that's the key here, that feeling of being attacked. When no one is actually attacking you, that feeling that someone is coming for you, for your ideas, for your drive, for your creativity, but there's no one actually there. There's no one saying anything, there's no one doing anything. This is a real internal conflict that's happening. Maybe part of you doesn't believe that you can do this. Maybe part of you believes that someone is attacking your ideas. Maybe someone has questioned you and challenged you, and you are dwelling on it more than someone else would be. Let's move on to the Eight of Wands. What does the 8 symbolize? The 8 symbolizes achievement, perfection, power, authority, and gratitude. What are the main elements in this card? Well, immediately, there's not a lot going on. You can see 8 wands in a downward diagonal direction. Downward diagonal direction. Wow, say that 3 times fast. In the back, we've got those rolling hills and the water that we see throughout the wands. And on the top of the hill is a little white blob. It's not clear what it is, but I read it as a town. Quite like the castle in the Ace of Wands. So what's the nuance in this card? Let's break it down a little bit further. The javelins in that downward diagonal direction give the feeling that they have been thrown, almost like a javelin. They seem to be flying through the air. Nothing has hit the ground. This is energy. This is movement. It's a lot like the Ace of Wands, that kind of pure energy, but this is directioned. This is active. However, that feeling of being thrown also gives a level of unpredictability. We can't necessarily direct everything that we're throwing, so there's also a bit of chaos behind this energy and behind the movement in this card. So what questions come up? Where have they come from? Where are they going to land? Who has thrown them? Upright, this card is movement, and that's quite easy to grasp from this card. There's movement and there's energy. It's not the slow one foot in front of the other progress of the 3 of Wands. It's not the drive with no real destination of the 2 of Wands. It's movement and it gives a sense of urgency. But there's a little bit of chaos in there. It's not necessarily planned. Maybe it's feeling that you need to move so desperately that you haven't planned it out properly. When we reverse this card, one of my immediate reactions to it is that it looks like a ladder, but nothing is attaching it. So it looks like a ladder that we can't actually climb. It feels chaotic. It feels like the destination is so far off. We can't even see it anymore. It becomes a tiny little white blob on the horizon. Reversed, I read this as slowing your momentum. Whether it's by choice or not, you are starting to slow down, possibly from exhaustion, like a very, very early warning sign that your body is telling you need to rest. There's a level of chaos in this energy that is really unsustainable. You can't climb, you can't move, and everything feels so far off. It's not only obstacles, but it's anxiety. Let's look at the 9 of Wands. This is a card that we briefly touched on in our introduction to the Minor Arcana, but we are going to see it again. The 9s mean nearing completion, abundance, attainment, and attunement. So what can we see? What are the main elements of this card? We've got a figure who is beaten and bruised. We have 8 wands that are behind the figure and they are holding one of them. And there are hills off in the horizon. So let's look at the nuance of this card. Well, the figure looks at the wands behind him, which implies that that is also the reason he became injured. The wands are forming a fence. It looks like he is building them and putting them there. So if the wands are ambition and drive, he's kind of been hurt going through this process. If we see mountains and hills off into the horizon, that is representing the wilds. So why is he putting up this fence? Let's go straight into the questions of this card. What is he afraid of out there in the wild that means that he's willing to get hurt to build this fence? How did he actually manage to get hurt? Was he building? Was he dismantling? When this card is upright, and using the number 9, that nearing completion, this is determined to finish a project, a plan, an idea, but exhausted. This is an early warning sign of burnout. There is determination, there is drive, but exhaustion. There's been fight, there's been a lot of fight, and you're tired, and you're bruised, and you're beaten, and it's signaling that either now or very soon it is time to put things down. When we reverse this card, we're looking at a rigidity of those thoughts, of those ideas, of your ambition and drive, doing something some way for so long because that is how it's always been done. I also get the feeling that he's trying to dismantle rather than trying to build. And if that's the case, he's spent so long trying to dismantle one wand from this fence post while the others remain strong and standing, and he is beaten and he is bruised, and this is not the time to be doing that. This is not the time to be undertaking this project to see what's out there on the horizon. This is exhaustion, and this is time to really rein things back in. It might mean being less rigid in your approach to something, and this might mean being able to bend and ask for help from others. Rather than putting something down completely, this is telling us that it's time to soften. I am going to show you the Nine of Wands from the Embroidered Forest Tarot. This is another one of those decks that is slightly more conceptual. Now, I bought this deck because embroidery. I love embroidery. For the wands, this deck uses the sunflower, and it's got foxes throughout the wand suit as well. Foxes are generally a symbol of like cunning and planning, but they're also associated with the fiery element because of their bright orange fur. Sunflowers, also always facing the sun, represent that inspiration, that creative ideas that drive that fiery, warming energy. It's not as easy to read as something that has the imagery quite like the Rider-Waite-Smith. It got a bit of a light-hearted attitude to it. If we take the general numerological meaning of the number 9, we've got that nearing completion of a task, but we have the fox curled up at rest, also exhausted. So we get kind of the exhausted feeling from both figures in this card, even though they're of completely different species. And once again, the sunflowers are behind them, like they are behind this figure. With this one, there's a lot more of a urgent, burnout, need to put things down energy. But with the Embroidered Forest Tarot, it's more of a you have worked, now it's time to rest. It's a lot softer in the way it presents the message. Finally, we move on to our 10 of Wands. Our 10 is completion, the end of the cycle and the start of a new one. It's our full circle moment. What are the main elements of this card? Well, we've got a figure who is carrying 10 wands bunched at the bottom. There's a small town or village in the background, and he seems to be walking towards it. What's the nuance in this card? What can we unpick? The figure is carrying a difficult and heavy burden. With all of these wands, you can see that he's hunched, he's having to grasp them and use all of his strength to pick them and move them along. But he's holding so many wands, he can't actually see where he's going. He's blinded by how many he's carrying and by the weight of them. And he seems to be walking towards the village with all of these wands. And that brings up a number of questions. Well, firstly, how did he get this many wands? Where did he get them from? Where is he delivering them to? Did anyone ask him to do this, or did he feel like he just needed to? Will he make it there without falling? Upright, this is a card of responsibility. Each wand, each ambition, it's a responsibility he's feeling to all of them, all at once, all the time. He's carrying all of these back to his home, back to his village, but he can't see where he's going beyond the responsibilities. He's trying to hold on to so much all at once, and it is starting to get heavy. When this card is reversed, it feels like he's holding them at the small bunch of the wands and that they're all beginning to fall and slip. This burden is becoming too much to handle. He is feeling heavy. He is holding on to so much all at the same time. And while upright, he's managing to carry the responsibility. Reversed, this burden has overcome him. It is too much to carry on, and it is too much to bear, and it's something that he now needs to let go of for his own sake. Maybe these burdens were placed on him by people he loves and people that are important to him. Maybe these burdens were placed on by himself. Maybe it's something that he cares about, and the idea of putting it down is painful. But this is saying that at this point there is no other choice. Let's summarize the wands for you right now. The Ace of Wands upright is inspiration, and the reversed is creative blocks. The Two of Wands upright is exploration, and reversed is the fear of the unknown. The Three of Wands upright is momentum, and the reversed is obstacles. The Four of Wands upright is celebration, and the reversed not belonging. The Five of Wands upright is conflict, the reversed is avoidance. The Six of Wands upright is triumph, the reversed is a low self-esteem. The Seven of Wands upright is taking a stand, The reversed is feeling attacked. The Eight of Wands upright is movement, and the reversed is chaos. The Ninth of Wands upright is determined but exhausted, and the reversed is rigidity. The 10th of Wands upright is responsibility, and the reversed is burdens. Finally, let's move on to our homework. Each week I ask you to sit with the suit. This week is no different, but this time you are sitting with the suit of wands. This week, as we have done in the previous weeks, we are going to be sitting with the suit of wands. Each day, or only on a few days if you've got time, you can either draw randomly or pick one of the wands. Ask one of these 3 questions and see how you can use that wand to answer the question. What is dampening my inner fire right now? Where does my inspiration come from? What obstacles do I need to remove to move forward? Each week I also give you a special bonus homework to embody the element of that suit. So wand is fire. So to embody fire, I'm going to ask you to make a playlist of songs that invoke the fire energy for you. Maybe that's something that makes you want to get up and dance and move. Maybe it's something that sparks the fire of creative inspiration within you. But I want you to just make a playlist that invokes fire for you. New ideas, new creativity, new motivation, new drives, or something that just makes you want to move. If you're someone who runs, make a new running playlist. If you're someone who likes music while they're doing something creative, make something creative. Make a creative inspiration playlist. You've done really well to get through 9 weeks of the tarot. Well done for completing the suit of wands, and next week we will be on the 1 to 10 pip cards of our final suit, the suit of water, our cups. Have a lovely rest of the day wherever you are. Let me know how you're doing in the comments below. And I'll see you next week where we unpick the suit of cups. Bye guys.